Hi, it's Ann, and welcome back to my 30 Days of Taiko Skills. Today is day 18, and I'm talking about foot tapping. So, tapping the foot, why would we do that in Taiko playing? It's really for the same reason that uh, uh, beginning band director in fifth grade, they might teach their students that they should tap their foot as they play their instrument. And the whole point is that the foot should correspond in general, it should correspond with the band director or the conductor giving you where the beats are, so that hopefully there's a good understanding between the student who's tapping their foot and how that relates to the conductor's beat. And if the conductor's beat is here and the foot is slightly off, the student should know that they need to either speed up their foot a little bit to catch up or slow it down to get it back on. But the whole idea is that the whole band, all of the members should follow that conductor. And the foot allows them to feel the beat by playing it externally. And then against that external beat, if they're a saxophone player, they can fit their notes so that it lines up with that. So in our case, we're trying to do the same thing, except there's usually no conductor. The conductor is just the collective consensus of where the beat should be. Or sometimes there's one part, maybe that's playing the G, or one percussion part, maybe there's like just a quarter note pulse being played on some instrument that is creating the beat. And if you're playing another part, it might be very helpful to tap your foot and make sure that foot that you're tapping is tight with that other part. So that's the idea. There might be some philosophies out there that frown upon the actual movement of the foot because it doesn't look good. In some cases, it might be loud. In general, it kind of depends, of course, on the environment. If you're playing on a wooden stage and it's very, very quiet, a very quiet part of the piece, and you happen to have a hard shoe or something, yes, of course, you would hear that quite a bit. In that case, sometimes there's a recommendation of saying, don't tap your foot, just tap your toe. So your toe is just moving inside of your shoe. Basically, still move something, but not so much that it's distracting from the music. So I think for me, it's not a big deal whatsoever. I think it's just fine to tap your foot during a performance, if that's helpful. Sometimes I use the foot tapping for my own timekeeping. Sometimes I use it to maybe tell somebody else that, hey, the beat should be here, so maybe check it out. So maybe I'll purposely play it louder. Maybe I'll purposely make it look bigger, just as a way to try to conduct the groove. If I feel like there's something that needs to be corrected. But in this case, I think I'm talking a little bit more in the individual practicing or in rehearsal scenarios. And in terms of individual practicing, this coordination, if you're not used to this coordination, it will take some getting used to. So you might start with something as simple as quarter notes. That might be easy because your foot is doing the same thing as your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could tap your foot this way. You could also tap your heel instead. Makes a bigger sound. Kind of depends on what's more comfortable to you. The next thing might be to try eighth notes on the pad while you keep the quarter note pulse going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Or you could say do ko do ko do ko do ko. Okay, so now with that combination of hits and the pulse, my right hand is going down at the same time as my foot, and the left hand is doing the ands. Of course, I could switch that and try the left version, where my left hand and my right foot are coming down together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Next, I might try 16th notes. So it's going to be 1E enda, 2E enda, 3E enda, 4E enda, or doko, 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 teke, 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 teke. If it's atarigane, chiki, 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 chiki. Sound like this. Okay. And if that's simple enough, then maybe you could try some other rhythms like a simple G pattern like ten, teke, ten, teke. Maybe another one, ten, teke, ten, 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 teke, ten, ten. Okay, you get the idea. Start simple, make sure you can do that, and then maybe gradually branch out to more complicated rhythms. After that, you might try just upbeats. So instead of playing one and, just play the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or alternated sticking. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. As you get used to this, you might, just like what we talked about with vocalizing of parts, when you take away the foot after you get used to it for a while, you might feel a little bit like, oh, the foot was actually really helping me out. It was giving me this strong sense of where the pulse or the heartbeat of the music was, and it was giving me something to go off of. And when you take that away, you might feel a little sense of instability. And that's just fine, totally normal, because that's why we're doing this, so that we can first have an external pulse or foot tapping, get used to that, and then either take it away or just make it very subtle where nobody can notice it. Maybe tap your toe, or internally in your mind, tap your foot and see if that helps you. So maybe try that. I'll do 4 beats of foot tapping and 4 beats without, and just go back and forth. Okay. You might vocalize and then take the voice out as well. Ten teke, ten teke, ten teke, ten teke. Ten teke, ten teke, ten teke, ten teke. Okay. Even with a simple example, I can feel how much more secure it is just by vocalizing and tapping the foot on the first note. So that kind of gives me something to strive for, where I'm concentrating. When there's no foot and no voice, I'm concentrating to see if I can keep that solid feeling as much as possible as I go along. So I think it's not just understanding the concept, but you have to work out various combinations, or it's like a coordination exercise. It's almost like if you are walking or marching, this kind of feeling, and you're asked to either sing something off of that or clap your hands somewhere. It's that kind of game where you're just trying to work out any issues there might be. So in my case, to do that, maybe I would put the metronome on or not, but maybe I'll tap my foot, improvise a little bit to see if there's any spots where my foot feels uncomfortable against what I'm trying to do. And if there is, I might go back and just work on that one small problem area until it feels smoother. So here's a little example of how I might tap my foot and then just improvise for a while to see if there's anything that comes up. 2, 3, 4. Okay. There's some parts, if I wanted to go back and nitpick, I might go back on this video, check it out, and see if my foot is really steady or there's some parts where it's changing tempo slightly, and then I would try to work on that one area. But there's some parts where I feel comfortable and some parts that there's some extra tension, like I'm barely able to do this. So my foot didn't get way, way off. It didn't stop or anything, but there's some parts where it's definitely not that comfortable. So it's probably in performance, I wouldn't be tapping my foot that strongly, but I might be tapping it anyway just to make sure I understand where the beat is. Um, Also, sometimes when you're performing, you can't always hear the beat reference. This can happen in a place with bad acoustics, or somebody's not playing their supportive role in a way that you can hear, or maybe your drum is too loud or you're playing too loud, whatever it might be. Maybe there's crowd noise. Um, it just happens once in a while that you can't really hear where the beat reference is. So at least you could help yourself out by creating your own beat reference. And in that case, if you can't hear, um, one thing I do often, if I can't hear something, is I'll just look at that source. So even if they're way over there, I might still look that way and try to at least get my foot to be on with what they're doing visually. And that way there's a chance that it'll be more together. So sometimes there's probably a difference of philosophy that just like you don't want, some people might not want to see people's feet moving on stage during a performance. They might not want somebody looking somewhere way off to the side as they're trying to figure out the beat. But to me, that's not a big deal at all because the most important thing is the music and keeping it together, keeping the feel right. And if that means that, you know, the body is not perfectly still and perfectly forward facing, to me is not that big of a deal at all. So everything is kind of based on the context. If you're playing on the Noel stage, the music for that, there's definitely no foot tapping. There's definitely no looking to the side for the beat reference. So in that instance, of course, that would not be appropriate. But just in general, for the kinds of music that most taiko players are playing, it's usually not that strict. So anyway, that's a little bit about foot tapping. Give it a shot. Hopefully there's something useful in there for you, and I'll see you on the next one.